Hey, good evening. For this week's assignment on looking at an individual's journey during the postbellum years in the United States, I decided to go with Joseph E. Brown. And if that name sounds familiar, it should, because he was the governor of Georgia during the Civil War. And directly after the war, he was actually imprisoned for a short period of time in Washington, D.C. And so, looking at his journey from almost as low as you could get, possibly being put on trial for treason, for being a traitor to his country. He rises through the ranks over the next 30 years to become a businessman, to become a United States senator, and a leader in not only Georgia but also the South. His journey during this Reconstruction era really started with his economic endeavors in 1870. Prior, he had been seen as a scallywag. He had switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party and had worked with some of those carpetbaggers who had come down from the north while Georgia was under military control. And so in 1870, he headed a group of investors calling themselves the Western and Atlantic Railroad Company that convinced the state to lease them the Western and Atlantic Railroad that ran from Chattanooga to Atlanta. So back then, uh, obviously shipping via rail was the main way to ship pretty much anything in the South. And a thing that he kind of piled on with right there was that during this Reconstruction era, he bought some very cheap land up in northwest Georgia for mineral speculation, basically, and found that it held fairly usable coal reserves. And so his coal, he started several coal companies, one called the Dade Coal Company in Dade County, another, the Rising Fawn Iron Company, that used this coal, and then a third, the Walker Iron and Coal Company in Walker County. And so he used his political capital basically in to seal this railroad deal, and then continued to say, okay, well, what can I do next? How can I profit even more off of this? And so while it is pretty certain that he used convict leased labor, which is pretty much slavery, to work his coal mines. He had some redeeming qualities and some redeeming actions. For instance, in an 1881 um, Macon newspaper, it was reported that he donated three rail car loads that equaled about 100 tons worth of coal to the needy poor in Atlanta to keep them warm that January. He was also a deacon in his Second Street Baptist Church in Atlanta. And so looking at the whole picture of Joseph E. Brown, um, he's definitely going to be decried as uh, maybe like a venture capitalist almost, looking to make a profit using this convict labor. But then at the same time, he has these redeeming qualities, and he brought uh, prosperity to a city that had been burned to the ground. He led what historians call the Bourbon Triumvirate, which was a group of him, composed of himself, John B. Gordon, and Alfred Colquitt, that controlled the politics in the state of Georgia. And so while he was the president of the railroad company and the owner of these coal mines, he was also the United States senator from 1880 until 1890. So definitely he used his political capital in order to turn a profit. But he set his family up well. He had several sons that were employed in his companies, such as with the rail cars and the coal companies. Um, he also dabbled in farming. He was, in one article, he was given credit for looking at harvesting fruit in Georgia rather than just cotton. Um, so he was an entrepreneur. He used questionable methods to get this done, but nevertheless, bad guy, good guy. Joseph E. Brown did shape Georgia during the postbellum years until his death in 1894.